All right, so you're a software engineer, you're working in tech, or maybe you work at home a few days out the week, then you go in the office. Point is, you have what I call the curse of the remote worker. And to be fair, 2020, the pandemic, and how the world is going right now, it seems like people are isolating themselves more and more, especially if you're in any sort of intellectual field. And even me, myself, as a content creator, as a coach, I find myself in the same predicament, which is how I was able to fix it. Not only that, but in our coaching program, Digital Romeo, we work with a lot of software engineers and a lot of people who work remotely. And we found that it's pretty much home, gym, hopefully, back home, aka work from home, and then repeat. Your life is pretty much just filled with monitors, Zoom meetings, Microsoft Teams, and emails. If that sounds familiar, please keep watching this video because I'm going to show you how this is actually destroying your dating life, but I'm also going to show you how you can fix it. Now, the issue with the remote worker is simply that because we are in isolation, because we really don't communicate with a lot of people, we actually have what I call the isolation mindset. And this pretty much just makes us a hermit of ourselves. I kid you not. Back when I was in college, now 10 years ago, that was the most social time frame of my life. And ever since moving into my adult life, I personally have found that my social skills aren't as good as when I was in a social environment every single day. And the reason is because I don't speak to as many people every single day. Just like me, you're likely mostly in the house. And sometimes you even feel lonely. You might have a cat, you might have a dog, you might have some things to keep you entertained, but for the most part, you're simply just enjoying your own company. Now, also, you have rare human connection. And guys, Microsoft Teams and Zoom meetings do not count. I'm talking about face-to-face interaction. Think about your college days. Think about how you would always meet new people, how you will always be out, how you would always be speaking to a stranger almost daily. And now the only strangers you talk to is if you're chatting with AI trying to figure out some code. And then because of that, this translates into our dating life or interaction with the opposite sex. Because guess what? Because you're not interacting with people, because you're really not living like that, you don't have many interesting stories to share outside of the time from your college days or whenever you do travel rarely, or your social anxiety actually increases. Because you're not around people, you're actually not used to being around people, and your body is kind of confused because it doesn't know how to react. At first, working remotely, it was fun, it was exciting. Doing whatever you wanted all day, it was fun. But now, the only person you really talk to, like I said, is AI, or you're talking to yourself, you're talking out loud. But when you go out in public, you have a lot of social anxiety. You don't feel comfortable with communication. You don't feel comfortable with conversation. And this is how it puts us within this isolation mindset. Now, here's the thing. You're actually not alone. And right here, I have a graph of how couples have met since 1950. Notice, at first, it was really through friends, even in the workplace. But that's the thing about remote working is that we're really not around people. Even if you were, you're likely in a male-dominated space to where there are rarely any women around your workplace. Not to mention, I don't think it's a good idea to try to meet women through work anyway. Through family, bars and clubs have gone down, and I personally have found that a lot of remote workers don't really like going out to bars and clubs. Even me myself, approaching my 30s, I don't really enjoy bars and clubs like I used to. We don't go to the random happy hour after work. We don't have that same camaraderie as the people who work in a corporate office or go into the office 5-6 days a week do, unfortunately. However, as we see here, the online trend has made a huge jump, especially since around 2015 and 2020. And if you don't know, that's when remote work started getting really, really popular. Now, like I said, you're not alone because guess what? Women are also working from home. And so they find it harder to put themselves out there. They're finding less social connection. That's why a lot of women are getting more pets nowadays. They're also getting on online dating because they don't know how else to meet men. They Uber Eats, they order their groceries in. They literally do not go anywhere except for maybe to the mall on a Saturday. They literally do not do anything except for stay in the house. And so because of that, women also put themselves on these online dating platforms in order to have some sort of social life. If you were able to have a thriving dating life, that actually becomes your social life. You going out on 2-3 dates a week becomes a part of you being able to express yourself and have that, human to human connection, especially if you have other friends too who might work remotely, or maybe, they've already started their family and they're busy with life. Not gonna lie, as a man, especially if you're above 25, above 30, it's even harder to make friends. And that sort of perpetuates this isolation mindset that I spoke here. Now I'm gonna show you how you can fix this. First off, we have to be intentional about leaving the house. I'm not sure if you ever walked in a Starbucks or a Panera Bread or any cafe or coffee shop midday, but it's a whole lot of people just on their computers. And so I encourage you, if you can, maybe take some time out, go to the local cafe or some sort of co-working space to where you're at least working with other people. And then from there, you might be able to have a little bit more of a social connection because you can speak and meet people while you're there. And if you become a regular, now you're talking to the barista, and maybe you notice another guy who goes there very often, and you make a connection that way. Not to mention, it's actually really good for productivity. I personally have found that, if I'm in my office all day, my productivity starts to wear off around 3-4 p.m. But yeah, if I'm able to change locations, I just found that I'm personally more productive. Now, alongside with that, I want you to go out on 15-minute walks at least 2 to 3 times a day. Think of this like a break. Maybe you've been working for 2-3 hours. At the least, get up and stretch, get some sunlight, go outside, take a walk around the neighborhood. And then while you're out, and also while you're at these cafes, I encourage you and challenge you to speak to at least one stranger a day. You might be asking, how do I do this? I never speak to anybody. Well, that's the thing. We baby step it. Social skills is also a progression. And even though I'm an advocate of online dating, I am still a big advocate on being able to hold a conversation with strangers and approach strangers through conversation, men or women. Also, keep in mind, I'm not telling you that you have to cold approach women. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm saying speak to a stranger. It could be an old woman. It can be a young one. It can be an old man. It can be a middle-aged man. And the way that we're going to do this is by 3 mechanisms. First, a greeting, a compliment, or a question. Hey, good morning. Hey, good afternoon. Compliment. Hey, man, I like that watch. Where'd you get that from? Hey, I really like your nails. I don't know. You guys should think of compliments, right? And also questions. Just ask a general question. Hey, excuse me, what coffee is that? It looks really good. Now, up next, I found that most remote workers have no personal presentation whatsoever. And because of that, they lack style and they just don't feel and look their best because they stop caring about their looks, grooming, because they simply just don't go anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, so might as well keep my PJs on all day. I'm not going anywhere, so I don't need to do a skincare routine and do my hair. I'm not going anywhere. Nobody's seeing me. Who cares? And I found this pretty funny. This guy right here, how he's wearing like the suit and the pajama pants. I feel like most remote workers, especially if you hop on calls, that's what you're doing. And me, nope. I'm wearing a full outfit today because I know that a lack of self-care leads to a lower sexual market value. Imagine if I was to go weeks without doing my skincare or dressing nice or still keeping up with my style. My S&B would slowly lower because the time in which I do go out, I'm not going to have anything nice to wear. I'm not going to have that same level of presentation whenever I go out on dates or I try to present myself elsewhere. When you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you work good. So doesn't matter if you're working from home, doesn't matter if nobody's seeing you for the day. I want you to get ready every day. Do your skincare, do your grooming, get haircuts, and still dress nice. This is purely from an aspect of doing it for yourself. You know how women say, oh, I wear makeup just for myself? We all know that's not true. But you're going to get dressed for yourself. Who knows? You might end up going outside on a walk, dressed nice, and it might lead to some sort of connection. You never know. Remember, opportunities present themselves to those who present themselves, but it must be in the right way. Now, at number 3, remote workers definitely have a structured dating effort alongside with the lack of a dating strategy. So you have more time freedom, but you really have no structure and no plan. I know a few remote workers, they're actually bored throughout the day. If you're not working on some coding project or you're not bogged down with work, you actually have a lot of free time. You're scrolling on Instagram. Maybe you are swiping dating apps, but not effectively. You haven't taken a photo shoot in months. Yeah, those crappy selfies you took the other day. And so, there's really no structure behind what you're doing. And I found that you guys optimize every part of your life except for dating. Your business is good, your career is going well. Maybe even you're reaching your fitness goals in the gym. But when it comes from a dating standpoint, you just assume that a woman's going to fall out from the sky, or a woman's just going to be knocking on your apartment door or your house door as you're sitting there going away at your computer. It's not going to happen, man. You still have to present yourself effectively and have a plan behind how you're going to attract those women within your life, aka leads. Think of it like a business. Leads. We want warm leads coming to us. You have a lack of leads since you're not consistently putting yourself out there. You're in scarcity, lack volume, no dates, no interaction with the opposite sex whatsoever. Just you, some AI, some code, and some Zoom meetings. That's it. That's not a life you want to live, man. We got to start putting a priority and an effort within our dating strategy, because a plan, aka a strategy, plus effort will equate to results. Now, if you guys don't know, we actually have a full turnkey system in which we turn average to above average guys into higher sexual market value men with a funnel, which we call a dating funnel, that attracts, qualifies, and converts to actual in-person dates. And we actually specialize in helping remote workers, because we find that remote workers are the ones who tend to mostly use dating apps. Remote workers also tend to be naturally on the introverted side or naturally more reserved. So they don't want to go out to bars and clubs and just cold approach women at the grocery store. And like I said before, women are also remote workers. And so they're prioritizing an online dating strategy too. Now, just to show you some of our results, for example, here we have Angel. He literally just got out of a breakup. Within 2 weeks out of his breakup, after we got his photo shoot done and we optimized his dating profiles. Second one for the Tonight Shits matched 3 hours ago. And also we have Reed. Reed is a software engineer. He's a at-home worker and he likes to travel. So one moment he's in Chicago, next moment he's in New York, which I've told him, this kind of makes it a little bit more difficult in terms of converting to dates. But he's getting matches. Like, look at his matches. It's just over flooding. He has many, many options because we were able to optimize his profile, his presence. He learned how to effectively take pictures of himself, and he's implementing the right text-to-date framework in order to set those dates no matter where he travels to. And then we have Nick. Nick was already a pretty decently handsome guy, but we were able to increase his sex appeal and make him even more handsome, which directly helped with his dating results. Because like I said, remote workers, you tend to stop caring about how you look, or you just become so out of touch that you don't know what looks right. And so here's his transformation within the past year. He went from already pretty good looking to even more good looking. And if you guys are more curious on how we do this, we first start off with the high quality pictures, which will be top of the funnel. And we implement a framework and a system in order to make that as easy as possible. And then we implement what we call our inbound profile optimization, to where you can actually get women messaging you first. So that way you don't have to spend a ton of time swiping or sending out tons of messages every single day. And then we use our dating funnel messaging strategy in which we actually convert those matches to dates. So if you are interested and you're a remote worker and you want us to help you out with your online dating strategy, that way you don't have to go out there and cold approach random women or do things you simply just don't like doing, click the link down below. We'd love to speak with you and see how we can personally help you out. Now, at number 4, of course, we got poor text game. And I got examples in which I'm going to show you here. But a lot of remote workers, you guys text in what I call biz-op communication. It's logical, it's dry, and it's super formal. And I really believe this stems from typing emails all day or just writing code. I feel like over time, because you're not sending a lot of text, it sort of rewires your brain into not knowing how to actually interact, especially with the opposite sex. Let me show you a bad example of this, right? So we have our mock example, Chris. He's 32. He's a remote software engineer. And here he says, "Hey, Sarah, I noticed you're into hiking. Do you usually go on weekends or do you have a flexible schedule?" All right, so he's opening her based on her pictures, profile prompts, whatever. She says, "Hey, mostly weekends. Helps me unplug. You?" He says, "I work remotely, so I kind of structure my hikes based on my sprint deadlines. If my JIRA board is clean, I'll do a weekday afternoon trail." All right, so Notice here how we're getting more into that like biz op communication, how he's starting to talk pretty logically and talk about himself and what he's up to and how he correlates that to his remote work job. And like I said, this is very normal because this is your reality. You're spending 8 to 12 hours a day at home working on your stuff. And so it naturally just comes up in conversation, but we need to avoid that. And I'll show you in the better example here next. But first, she says, oh, nice. I guess that's the upside of remote work. He says, definitely, I optimize my work environment for max productivity. Got a dual monitor setup, adjustable standing desk, and a Notion system for task bashing. Super efficient. This is what I call pussy repellent. She's turned off. But she says, LOL, sounds serious. You must get a lot done. Yeah, last quarter I pushed 12 code deployments solo. Our CTO was impressed. Thinking of automating some parts with GPT plugins next sprint. Cool. So this is an example of just biz-op communication, very, very bad. What we want to do is speak to the emotional mind, not the logical mind. Are you catching my drift here, guys? All right, so good example. He says, okay, I have to ask, that second pick with the wine and the dog, was that a solo night in or were you low-key third wheeling? It was supposed to be a solo night in, but my friend brought her pup over and kind of crashed the vibe. He says, honestly, sounds like the kind of chaos I'd want to be invited to. Wine, unexpected guests, and maybe some decombos over snacks. All right, so you see how we're not talking or getting into how he works remotely or any biz-op logical conversation. We're making it about her, and he's making it fun. Are you more of a going out person or stay in person? You got that hard to find energy. Let's not die on this app. Text me instead. Boom, sends the number, which is also part of the dating funnel system in which we teach our clients. All right, so this was a good example of him speaking more to the emotional mind. Now, if you're confused about texting whatsoever, remember that this is a skill. And if you want a more in-depth breakdown on how to actually not text logically and how to use this for your own dating results, I did create a free in-depth training, and I'm going to leave a link down below in the description if you want to access that. No email opt-in, nothing whatsoever. It's just another free video, so you can go ahead and click that link and watch it. I'm sure it'll provide a lot of value to you. So just to recap our lesson here, remember, if you're a remote worker, you're likely in an isolation mindset. We need to get out of that, put ourselves in front of people, cafes, co-working spaces, and speak to at least one stranger per day. Also, remember your presentation. Still do your skincare, still groom, still take pride in how you look, even if nobody's going to see you for the day. Do it for yourself. Also, you likely lack a dating strategy, an online dating strategy, alongside with a lack of effort. Remember, you didn't choose a remote life to be lonely. You chose it for freedom, so why not have it all? Imagine a life to where you're still working remote, or going out on 2-3 dates per week, you have a good social life, you still hang out with friends, and you just feel more happy. You feel like you're actually living life. That's what I want for you. All right. So once again, if you want to optimize your dating life in the same way you've optimized your business or maybe your career, click the link down below in the description and we'll give you access to our full turnkey system to turn your dating life around. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace.